All right, hey, Jeff back here. So I've been holding off doing this, showing this record just because I knew there was something else that was supposed to have come in around the same time. I finally got my hands on the new Neal Morse Sola Gratia. It is Grace Alone. In case you don't know, Sola, kind of where we get our word soul, like I'm the soul survivor, the only. It's Grace Alone. Anyway, came out in September. But for those of us who ordered the vinyl, they got a limited number of the vinyl in before manufacturing difficulties, hold ups, shipping difficulties, and so they only had a small amount, and a small amount of people got it. Anyway, the rest of us had to wait, and it finally arrived about, I don't know, I've had it now for about a week. Got it, love it. Now, they did send us the audio tracks. The digital tracks were sent to us on release day because they knew there was a hold up. But it's tough when you're watching everybody on Facebook showing, that they received it, either the CD or the people who did receive the vinyl got it. And then there's that part of me that wanted to be a pain in the butt. And I'm thinking, I ordered it the first day of pre-sales within probably the first hour or two or three. Why didn't I get mine first? But anyway, patience is a virtue, and I had to deal with that. Anyway, so yes, Neal Morse. Now, if you're familiar, I talk about Neal all the time. He is one of my favorites. Everything he touches, I get my hands on. The last three albums by Neal have been the Neal Morse Band, and the Neal Morse solo albums have been of a different caliber of music altogether. They have been the last album, Life and Times, was singer-songwriter type stuff, kind of a friendly pop, upbeat, not proggy, not hard rock or anything. The one prior to that, very similar, kind of a just a rock, pop rock type stuff. So you've got Neal Morse, the solo artist, who releases music that's not the same as the Neal Morse Band, which is proggy and harder rock and based on different themes and stuff. But this one is a return to Neal Morse, the solo artist, but the music is the same as you've seen with like the previous albums. And it's even got most of the same guys playing on the album. So why is this a Neal Morse solo album? Well, back in 2015, when he first established the Neal Morse Band for the first time, he's been recording since the early 2000s as a solo artist. Neal Morse, and then he's really had kind of the core group. Him and Randy George and Mike Portnoy have been on well, I think Randy might not have been on the very first one or been involved. They've kind of been the core band for pretty much every album, and then the albums have been filled with other musicians and other additional people and people pulling and stuff. And the band members have changed over the years. Main guitar players have changed over the years, but Randy and Mike have always been there as a rhythm section, with Neal doing a lot of the other stuff. So it was in 2015 with the Grand Experiment where it was the actual first Neal Morse Band name change. And the reason being, it solidified the lineup, and that was the first album where all the band members had input. They brought songs to the table, they brought pieces to, and so the songwriting was a band effort. And whereas on previous albums, Neal pretty much wrote everything, he demoed everything, because he can play every instrument. I don't know what he can't play. So he would pretty much have a finished product, and then he would send it to everybody. They would learn the parts, and they would tweak it, and make it their own. So a lot of the stuff in the past was mostly just Neal writing. And then in the Neal Morse Band and the two albums that followed, those were band efforts where all the guys brought things to the table. Well, in this case, it's the same thing. It's just Neal, and he's done it all. But then he's got most of the same guys. All the guys from the Neal Morse Band appear on here, but they're all on here with a bunch of other people. But it is a Neal effort. This is something he wrote. It is basically the life and times of Paul the Apostle. It starts off when he was Saul, a religious persecutor, Jewish leader who hated the Christians. And it starts with that story of him tracking down the Christians in the early church. He can't figure out why these cult people who follow this man Jesus, why are they growing no matter what they do and how they persecute him. This cult is growing, and he struggles with that, and then through it he becomes converted and all that. So it's the whole story of Paul, totally written by Neal, I guess, and just played by the guy. So it is a Neal Morse solo album. It's harkening back to the days before the Neal Morse band because musically it's about the same. Now, the other thing it kind of harkens back to, okay, Sola Gratia. Sola Scriptura, 2007, which I wish they released on vinyl, but it's not. Sola Scriptura, Scripture alone, was kind of the battle cry of Martin Luther, and so this is a biographical type album on Martin Luther. You know, the reformer who nailed the 95 Thesis to the walls at Wittenberg, at the doors, and anyway, started the Reformation back in the day. And so this is all about his struggle with the Roman Catholic Church at the time and the persecution he went through and the battles he went through. So you've got these two Sola albums, which is really neat, and there are musical pieces on this that are taken from this. You can feel it, little choruses, little underlying rhythms, little breaks that they go into. It's really cool when you hear that, because if you're real familiar with this album as I am, you pick up on a lot of that in here. So I thought that was really cool how he tied these two together. And actually the first lyrics on this say, you know, before Martin Luther was this man. So he kind of even starts the story by saying, you know, this guy did a lot, but before him there was him. So yeah, it's great. The album itself, it's in the gatefold. It is a double record set. I have, like I say, been listening to it. I will say, when I first got the digital tracks, it was different, and it took me the first listen. It wasn't one of those things that like grabbed me immediately. A lot of Neal stuff will just, I'm like loving it from the first note. It kind of was like, okay, I'm not sure where I stand on this. And I know a lot of people online were saying that when it first came out. They're like, it's growing on me. Well, I have to say, it didn't take very long, because once you become familiar with not only the storyline, which I found very engaging, you start getting more familiar with the tunes, and all of a sudden it's very addictive. And so now it's blowing my mind. It's just another great album. It came with the CD, which is always nice when they throw that in. Has the insert, which has all the, you know, the lyrics, typical lyrics type stuff. Oh, and you probably did notice, it is autographed Neal. I was kind of wondering if it was going to be that way, because you pre-order early on, like the first 100 get it. So I wasn't sure if this one was going to come autographed, but I'm glad to see, even though I got it weeks after, that he still honored that, I guess. That's nice. It is on cool yellow, clear, translucent vinyl. All the center rings are custom. Each side is totally different images. I won't show you all four, but you know, there are two of them. But yeah, it's a great album. I talk about Neal all the time. I'm sure you all are probably getting sick of it if you're not a big fan yourself. Check him out, though. If you're he is influenced heavily by the prog of yesteryear. He's influenced by the Genesis, Peter Gabriel years, the Yes, the early Queen. There's a song on here that everybody's like, it sounds like you ripped off We Are the Champions. I hear that over and over and over online, and I have to force myself to think that sounds like that. But other people are saying, wow. And even Neal said he wasn't quite sure he should do that, but everybody told him it didn't sound that close. I agree. I listen to the song and I don't see it. I don't hear it. I can if I force myself. If you haven't checked out Neal Morse, go online. He's got tons of videos. If you can ignore the fact that some of his themes are, you know, religious themes, this one in particular is definitely, but a lot of his other stuff is not so, and this stuff is not really preachy. It's a story, kind of like a Bible story. So if you're interested in storytelling, check it out. Neal is just great. The band, the people he has playing with him are great. It's always top-notch musicianship. The intricate time changes, the intricate instrumentation and all that always just blows my mind as a musician. And that's the thing, maybe this is music for musicians more so than the average listener. I know that musicians tend to get nuts when we really get into the little changes and intricate details. So I know that really, really, really impresses me. So cool stuff. Anyway, that's all for now. I will talk to you later. Rock on.